Welcome to Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out with Julie Coraccio. Every Tuesday at 1 p.m., hear easy to implement tips on decluttering all areas of your life: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and energetic. Learn how to release clutter and get organized to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire. An award-winning professional organizer and coach, Julie is passionate about supporting people in clearing clutter so they can share their gifts with the world and live a more joyful and fulfilling life.
Hey everyone, it's time for a giveaway. Adam Levine, not the guy from Maroon 5, but the creator of Rapid Gift Bag, has generously donated a Rapid Gift Bag for one lucky winner. You can listen to my review, it's a December bonus, or watch on YouTube. This giveaway is for all of November, so you have up until the 30th to enter. To be entered, simply rate and write a review of Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out. Once you've done that, email julie@reawakenyourbrilliance.com with your name and where you reviewed our podcast, iTunes, Stitchers, TuneIn, etc. Once verified, you'll be entered to win. Drawing is December 1st. Good luck, everyone! Hey everyone, we're thinking outside the box again today. We're going to be talking about money clutter. What exactly is money clutter? We're going to talk about how to prosper by letting go of all that money clutter. I'm very excited today because I think, again, we love to think outside the box, talk about different ways that clutter is affecting you and preventing you from choosing the life you deserve and desire. All right, we'll tell you about today's guest. Joan Sotkin is the expert when it comes to understanding how emotions learned in early childhood can affect a person's earning capacity as an adult. For over 25 years, she has helped entrepreneurs and practitioners experience freedom from struggle personally, professionally, and financially. Thousands have benefited from Joan's groundbreaking book, Build Your Money Muscles: 9 Simple Exercises for Improving Your Relationship with Money, and her programs. Joan is an inspiring speaker and coach who brings a depth of knowledge plus empathy and compassion to her work. Welcome, Joan.
It's so good to be here.
Now, I'm excited. Now, Joan, when I was first approached about interviewing you, we had a discussion about this. I got a little nervous because I'm like, Joan, this podcast and series is about supporting people and clearing clutter. I don't want to have someone on that's going to be like, okay, abundance, prosperity, let's go buy, buy, buy. So talk about what your definition of prosperity is.
Well, to me, prosperity is a feeling of fullness, a feeling of safety, a feeling of self-love. It's a feeling of completeness, and it has nothing to do with money. And the clutter, if you've got a box full of receipts, that's probably money clutter, because you're not organizing your money the same way you would organize your underwear drawer. It's a matter of keeping all the energy in the right place. Money is just energy. It's energy passing between two people or entities. And how you deal with money is how you deal with your relationship with yourself and others. And once you see it as an energy force and as a energy gestalt, you treat it differently. So that if you've got clutter, you're keeping energy from moving freely through you. Whether it's clothing or stuff or money clutter, it's all going to keep you blocked from moving forward towards your prosperity, whatever your definition is.
I absolutely love that. And I'm laughing, you're reading my mind, because the next point I wanted to bring up with is money is energy. And, I think of that Cyndi Lauper song from the 80s, money changes everything. It's like money's not energy. We get this perception that, it's money. And it's amazing to me how you can have the rest of your life clutter free, or you're really happy, and then money is the one stumbling block where you get stuck.
Money seems to be the last hurrah for just about everybody. And I have yet to meet a person without money issues. It doesn't matter if a person has a lot of money or hardly any money. Some people with very little money are perfectly happy where they are. And a lot of people with a lot of money are not perfectly happy where they are. So it has nothing to do with money. It has to do with you, your feelings, how you deal with yourself, how you perceive yourself in the external world. And every time you think it's about money, oh, I need more money. No, it's never about money. What is it you're longing for? I mean, I've looked at the clutter issue a lot. And what is it that makes people hoard and bring all, it's like a kind of safety. If I have all this stuff, then I can't die. And it doesn't work. You know, you're going to die no matter what. And there's as much emotion involved in clutter as there is in money.
I think I love hearing you talk about this, because one of the things that drives me is I think a lot of people concentrate on physical clutter or mental clutter, but not many people are talking about the emotional, spiritual, and energetic clutter. And that's what I get really excited about, because whatever is going on in the inside is directly reflecting the environment. Now, I'd be curious of your thoughts. I think I love your definition of prosperity at the beginning. I think sometimes, again, people still confuse prosperity with keeping up with the Joneses and that rat race. What advice would you have for someone to how do you have that balance? How are you able to step back and not get caught up in having to accumulate more and more?
Well, what is it you really want? And what is it you think more and more is going to do? One of the main feelings behind more and more is longing, which is a feeling that starts in early childhood, when mommy didn't feed you properly, when you didn't get bonded, when you didn't get touched. Under-earning and touch deprivation go together. So that feeling of, you want me to say that again?
No, please. Well, the good thing about this is it's recorded, so people can listen again and again, and you can't see I'm having an aha moment and making connections, which I just absolutely love, because again, the inner is reflected in the outer. I'd never heard that before, so that's an aha moment for me.
Stuff that I make up. I think about this stuff a lot, because when I had 2 millionaire brothers and I couldn't rub 2 pennies together, my question was why? We came from the same family. Why are they where they are and I'm where I am? And this is when I began to understand that we have beliefs that lead to thoughts, that lead to emotions, although it happens in a nanosecond, so you can't really separate them. And it's the emotions that inform our decisions, which cause our behaviors. And so I came from a family where the spoken rule was Sotkins don't feel. My father was a little nuts and probably borderline personality. And one of his rules for Sotkins, we were the only Sotkins in the United States, and he had all these rules for us, one of which was Sotkins don't feel. And once I went to Codependence Anonymous, and they would clap when I told them how I felt. It was like, okay, what else is in there? And I didn't know how to, I went to therapy, that wasn't doing it. So I just started doing a lot of meditation. At one point, I actually gave everything I owned away and wandered for quite a few years, listening to that inner voice and just doing what I felt guided to do in order to take myself to a healthier place. I was also sick physically, so I had a lot of healing to do. And the doctors told me I'd never be healthy, and I was just a hypochondriac, and one of those stories. And the deeper I go into the feeling body, the more I learn. It's only recently that I begun to look at our need for connection and how that leads to really stupid decisions, and how touch deprivation affects our financial results. And the new one I'm looking at is our ancestral background, and how mommy's feelings and grandma's feelings and grandma's feelings, how they all affect who we are today. And I realized that we don't have to break our ties to the ancestors. We have to heal the relationship.
Right, or clear the energy that might be behind the familial. I know, for instance, it's not necessarily related to money, but in my family growing up was, you never air the family dirty laundry because something bad could happen. So that would be an example. I'm convinced that goes back hundreds of years. But
So what I've been looking at in just the last couple of days, I was born Jewish. Now I don't follow the Jewish religion. I don't do Jewish things. I don't observe the Sabbath. I don't do it. But you can't stop being Jewish. It's like the minute I say hello, they know New York Jewish. And yet what I realized was there was a part of me that was ashamed of being Jewish, because what comes with being Jewish is the cellular memory of all the anti-Semitism, all the stuff we went through since biblical times, where we've been thrown out of places. And I'm sure this is why I'm so fascinated by the Black experience. What a thing to have to live through and to have in your cultural DNA. And so, and of course, things happen coincidentally. So there was a show on PBS about Jews in America, and then there was something on C-SPAN about a book called Our Only Crime Was We Were Jewish, and it was all about the Holocaust. So I've been, all of a sudden, all this Jewish stuff is just in my face. And because of that, I'm noticing how many Jews are being interviewed on television. And I said to myself, look at today, you have the right to be proud that you're Jewish. It's a very interesting culture. Most of the comics I know are Jewish, that there's a rich history here. And it's only the feelings that I've inherited that are keeping me ashamed of being Jewish. I never talk about being Jewish. I am doing it now because you're only as sick as your secrets and you've got to get it out. And so even as I say it, a little part of me is going, oh, Joan, don't do that. Don't do that. It's dangerous. It's dangerous to tell them you're Jewish. Look what happened in the Nazi era. It was dangerous to tell them you were Jewish. And so I'm seeing how this affects my whole persona. There's and the other piece is the shame about being a girl, because in our family, boys had more value than girls. In a lot of religions, boys have more value than girls. And so I'm recognizing this part of me that holds back a little bit. And that would affect my finances and what I accomplish, because, as you said, the inside affects the outside. And realizing that as out a person as I am, and as much of a extrovert as I am, and how much I love to talk to people, and I'm very good at starting conversations, there's a little piece inside of me that holds back. You're not going to like me because I'm Jewish, or because I'm a girl, or because I talk too much, or, all those messages I got along the way. So the clutter, back to your topic, so the clutter comes from trying to fill in that empty hole where the value is missing.
So our money clutter then is trying to fill that hole. Was that how it would?
Yeah. So you're either doing too much, or you're doing a lot of work that doesn't pay off. I mean, there's a lot of ways. I've not looked at this as clutter before, but when you started talking before, I just saw a box of receipts, and not, or, most people that I meet don't take very good care of their money. People who clutter probably don't take very good care of their money, which means it's just laying all over the place. It's not organized. It's not in healthy little boxes. It's not in closets neatly. And in order to do that, you have to be willing to keep track of your income and expenses.
And to respect it.
It's not rocket science. People say to me, well, I'm not good with numbers. You don't have to be. You just have to be good with data entry. And you have to be willing to do it, because all the software takes care of the numbers. And once you start doing it, I have never had a person who I have taken through the process say to me, oh, this is useless. They all say, I feel so empowered. It's like with the clutter. Once you know where everything is, once you don't have to go through piles of stuff to find that one thing you were looking for, your life changes.
It absolutely does. I believe you transform your life through clearing clutter.
Looking to change your life? Are you ready to release all your clutter, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual? Our Declutter Your Life is a year-long how-to go at your own pace workbook course to guide you through the process of clearing clutter, also available by 3-month individual topic. Learn more at reawakenyourbrilliance.com.
Would you be willing, I was fascinated with that earlier example where I had my aha moment. Would you be able to share one or two other emotional examples that happen in childhood and how that relates to our current financial situation?
Sure. I love to share this stuff. Okay, so what I've come to understand is that our emotions are formed, for the most part, in very early childhood. They're like, if you have a fabric, you have a warp and you have a woof, where so the emotions form the warp of your life around which the fabric of your life is woven. Okay, so in order to change the nature of the fabric, you have to change the nature of the warp. So how do they start so early in life? Well, first of all, if there was any kind of abuse or neglect when you were a child, imagine this little being yelled at or being abused in some way. That being is going to retract a bit, contract, and it's perfectly normal to be angry when you're violated. So, and when you're that age, you're not allowed to express the anger. Even if you have a temper tantrum, you know, there's a whole thing that goes around that. So the anger starts. A sense of deprivation and that longing starts very early when the mother doesn't bond with the child. Shame starts very early. There must be something wrong with me because she can't love me. There must be something wrong with me because I can't get what I want. So when you're an adult, that looks like I never get what I want. Okay, it's the same feeling. Okay, another major feeling that is acted out through money is a sense of being trapped. And that 2-year-old, no matter, and this is a very common feeling. So it's natural for a 2-year-old to feel trapped. They won't let me do what I want. They won't let me be who I am. And so when a person goes into debt, that allows them to feel trapped. So they know who they are, because your emotions are one of the things that let you know who you are. Okay. And the fifth major feeling that people act out through their money is aloneness, feeling alone and disconnected. I'm abandoned. My father left, my mother left. They don't touch me, so there must be something wrong with me. And these are all things that people say about their money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's never about money. When you think you need more money, you need more love, you need more people, because money doesn't fly in the window by itself. It comes from people. So anytime you hear yourself saying, I need more money, ask yourself what you really need. So you can put these things together. Compulsive shopping is feeling alone. You go out there and someone's paying attention to you. Oh, you look so great in that dress. Let me hand you some money. And the whole touch piece is a whole nother one. I was touch deprived. My father said when she was 6 weeks old, she drooled on me and I never touched her again. And that was pretty true. Okay. My mother came from a family where there was very little touching. So touching didn't happen in our family, physical touching. So I looked around one day and I said, am I still touch deprived? And the answer was, I've got 10,000 people on my mailing list. I got so many people listening to my podcast. People tell me all the time, you look great for your age, you're amazing, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting touched all the time. I just wasn't feeling touched. Mm-hmm. Remember, feelings are the key. Okay. So what I started doing was when I would get into bed at night, I would say, I feel loved, I feel touched. And I would remember during the day when people would greet me warmly, that's a way of getting touched. When people asked me questions and listened to what I had to say, I was being touched. That it had nothing to do with just the physical touch. When people hand you money, that's a way of getting touched. So when you crave money, you're craving touch. So every time, as I said before, every time you think it's about money, it's not. Ask yourself, if it's not about money and it's probably about people, what is it I'm really feeling?
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that. Now, what advice do you have? And again, I love how you're tying in, because there's a physical aspect. You mentioned the receipts and the emotions. What suggestions do you have for people? What do they have to do to clear the emotional clutter to heal their relationship with money?
Well, there's two things that have to be done. One is, I call the emotional piece, recognize, release, and replace. So it's recognize the emotions. Now, you don't have to have an emotional vocabulary to do this. You just have to notice whether you feel contracted or expanded. When you look at a bill, when you look at your bank balance, are you feeling contracted? Okay, so you get the feeling contracted. Where are you feeling that? Are you feeling it in your chest? Are you feeling it in your abdomen? To become familiar with the kinesthetic experience of the feeling. That's all you have to know, okay? So that's recognize. Release is emotions by their nature want to be expressed. I use the word want, even though emotions don't want, but that's the normal path of an emotion. Emotions are caused by neuropeptides that attach themselves to receptors in your cells. And when you express the emotion, the molecules of emotion are gone. So you have all this buildup of shame and anger and all this stuff, all these molecules that want to be expressed. So how do you do that? You get in touch with where in your physical body you are feeling the emotion. It's not happening in your head, it's happening in your body. Put your hand over the feeling and make the sound of the feeling. Whatever the sound is, you are expressing that emotion, and that's the release. There's also energy psychology techniques like EFT and Be Set Free Fast and harmony integration, and there's a dozen of them now. You just have to be willing to express the emotion rather than burying it with clutter. One of the reasons people have clutter is to bury the emotions. When you allow yourself to feel the emotions and express them, whether it's in a journal, telling someone else, I feel so crappy today, terrific. Okay. Then replace. If you've been feeling a particular feeling in response to a particular situation all your life, you actually have to build new neural pathways in your brain and train yourself to feel a different emotional response during the same circumstances. So what do you want to feel instead? For example, if you're always disappointed, if you don't get what you want, what is it you want to feel? You probably want to feel satisfied. Let's take that as an example. Do you know what satisfaction feels like? Well, if you don't, then you have to look around and say to yourself, when do I feel satisfied? And if you don't, how can I feel more satisfied? What satisfies me other than that extra milkshake? Because very often it's the food that we use in order to feel satisfied. So it's recognize, release, and replace. That's for the emotions. Then there's organizing your money, keeping track of your expenses and your income, and looking at the numbers and saying, okay, I see what I spent this month. Is that what I want to do with my money? How much did I spend on food? How much did I spend on clothing? How much did I spend? If you ever say to yourself, I don't know where my money went, then you need to organize your money.
Absolutely. I think you should have your bills neatly in your wallet. Again, that's about showing respect. I think that's really important.
Right. And I do everything electronically. There's very few things I pay for with a check. I use my debit card for everything, but I keep track of what's going on. I use QuickBooks for my business and Quicken for my personal. And I check people say, well, I check online, so I'm managing my money. No, that's just telling you whether you bounce your check or not. And so you want to make sure that every time you use your debit card, that it's getting into your check register. And you want to pay attention to your money and not bury it in a pile full of nothing.
Absolutely. Now, I'm curious about your thoughts of tithing. I'm a big believer in tithing, and I believe that's directly tied into prosperity. What are your thoughts?
Well, that is what you believe. I don't have that belief. Although I must say I'm a generous person. In other words, I don't count percentages because I give more than money. In other words, I don't think that tithing, this give 10% of your gross income, I don't think tithing has to do just with money. I think it has to do with time and talents as well. For someone who has a very low income, they really can't afford 10%, but they can work at a homeless shelter or help to feed the homeless. Or for me, I have a standing invitation that anyone who walks with me at dog park, which is 1.5 miles to 2 miles every day, can have free coaching. They just have to walk with me at dog park. We have this fabulous dog park in Santa Fe with 1.5 mile long trails, and you can see a view of the entire city. And since we have no tall buildings here, it's lovely. And anyone who wants free coaching can walk with me at dog park. To me, that's part of the tithing. So I can't imagine not giving freely, although you have to set boundaries. You have to know who to give to. It's just the same thing as choosing a charity. I make sure to give a certain amount to charity every month, but I don't do that 10% thing. I think that's a false way of looking at it. I think that rumor started by people who are raising money for their churches, and I just don't go with it. So be generous, connect. Since I believe we're all connected, we're all one being. So by helping to take care of you, I'm helping to take care of myself. There is no separation. And so when I have to be forced to give, that doesn't come from love. I know a lot of people who were doing that whole tithing thing, and they felt so poor as a result of it.
Absolutely. And I think that example is great because that, in my mind, defeats the purpose. If you have to begrudgingly give something, you're not being open. It's not coming from your heart. And I think time is important as well.
Yes. And so you don't think you have to, from my point of view, don't think you have to give money. I don't think it's true that the more money you give, the more money you get. I think that's perpetrated by the prosperity gospel people who want their baskets filled. So I'm a little skeptical about that whole thing because of who's teaching that. These are people who are trying to get your money. So
right. But I think it was, I'm not very schooled on this. I think it was also mentioned in the Bible as well. And I can't speak.
Well, that doesn't, from my point of view, that doesn't make it the truth.
Right.
Because in the Bible, they were trying to control people the same way as they are now. Right. So, I'm a little, I don't have the reverence for religion that a lot of people do.
Oh, there's no, I guess probably what the point, and I think that you've expressed this is, to me, like you said, in times in my life when I didn't have money, I volunteered, but I still felt that I was in that energy and that flow of giving and putting it out there. And like, as you've mentioned earlier, there's something I'm trying to achieve in my life that would make me very prosperous, has nothing to do with money.
Right. Are you willing to smile at people? I'm a smiler. I smile a lot. And I noticed I was in the supermarket the other day in Trader Joe's, and so many people were smiling at me. And I realized I was smiling at everybody. So that's a way of giving and connecting as well. And it's your choice. I don't think there are any rules we have to follow. I think we're each trying to figure out what works for us in this lifetime. And for me, if it's done with love, then you can't go wrong.
I agree. I believe that love is the highest vibration, and that's the best place to come from. I do want to clarify one thing. When I talk about tithing, to me, that's not about giving to your church or synagogue. It's not a religious, or I don't know if I'd even call it a spiritual, if you go to a spiritual church. To me, it's about tithing money to causes that you support and believe in. For instance, I'm very passionate about animals, so I make sure that I donate each month to animal causes. But as we've talked about, tithing your time and talent are equally important, and I encourage everyone, no matter where you are, what your station in life is, to tithe. But again, as we've mentioned, it's got to feel good because everything's about energy, so the intent is what's most important. Final tips on money clutter and clearing that you'd like to share?
Well, to me, the three things to remember that I always say are let go, love yourself, and connect. And those three things will help you straighten a lot out. This isn't a quick and easy fix. There is none. It's a process. As I said, I don't think we come here to get rich. I think we come here to learn about emotions and who we are and our place in the scheme of things. And there's nothing to judge yourself about. There's nothing to worry about. Just, put one foot in front of the other. And if clutter works for you, then you're not going to change. If it's uncomfortable for you, then change it. Don't judge yourself. To me, a lot of the reasons that people clutter is because they're so judgmental about themselves. And self-love will do a lot to help a lot of things heal.
I'm with you on that 1,000%. So since you've had some other experiences with clutter, share one final tip that for people to clear clutter on the inside or out, whatever your move to share.
One little bit at a time. There's no right way or wrong way. Just if something doesn't feel right, change it. One little bit at a time. And get used to the feeling that comes when you change something, which is a little bit of disorientation.
Outstanding. Now, Joan, how can people find out more information about you, your book, whatever good stuff you'd like to share?
I do have a podcast that comes out twice a week. One is an interview and one is me just talking for 20 minutes with all my ahas. I like to share what I learn with everybody. Best place to start is at prosperityplace.com, where everything happens from that space.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Joan. It was very enlightening. And I was so excited because, again, when I first was like, oh, I don't know. But then when they said, okay, read this book, or whatever you said, I'm like, okay, she speaks my language. We're on the same page. I've got to have her on for an interview.
All right. And my book, Build Your Money Muscles, is on the site as well and on Amazon.
All right. Fantastic. All right, everyone. You've got some assignments here to help clear your money. So go out, clear some clutter to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire.
Thanks for listening to Clearing the Clutter Inside and Out. Sign up for our newsletter and receive a free copy of our 10 clutter-free living tips. Ready to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire? Learn about Julie's services including coaching, classes, affirmations, aromatherapy, and her unique How to Declutter Your Life course and more at reawakenyourbrilliance.com. Don't forget to subscribe and join us next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step.